this particular piece of kit arrived in the post this morning. And it's not something that I'm going to be able to demonstrate to you because I don't have the rest of the components that actually go with it. But the reason why I wanted to talk about the Technics SH CH900 is because it was incredibly high technology for its time. And some would say that the Matsushita Corporation, in fact, Technics as this was branded, produced some of the most over-engineered Midi and mini hi-fi technology that was available in the late 1990s. Now, this particular unit was born in about 1994 and actually hit the UK market in between 96 and 97. So it's over 20 years old. But as a piece of equipment, Dolby ProLogic with a complete sound processing technology built in was an incredibly advanced bit of kit. And it formed part of the SH CH900 Midi system, which sold around about 25,000 units in the UK and Europe at that time. So for a high-end hi-fi, possibly around about £1,000 in most retail stores, it was incredibly advanced and pretty top end, but sold an awful lot of units. And we spoke before about how Matsushita brought together lots of different divisions within their own business and then fused them into certain technologies, such as the Music Center, which is now sold, by the way. But what they also did later on is they created small standalone components which were incredibly advanced and, well, sounded incredible for MIDI components. So they very much set a standard for this type of technology. Now, I mentioned earlier on that I can't use this unit, and I can't, unfortunately. So this one's going to be sold straight on. But the reason why I bought this is to have a look at the technology which actually went into it. Because despite it being a Technics branded unit and obviously came out of the Matsushita stable, it used chipsets from a wide variety of Japanese manufacturers, including Nippon Electric, so NEC. It used chips from Sanyo. Of course, it used the Dolby ProLogic 4 system as well, so for 4 loudspeakers rather than 5. But it actually also used some chips from Sony and also from Trio Kenwood. And that was all about the timing, because what was found with some Dolby ProLogic circuitry, that it didn't really represent the true digital performance or the true surround performance. Whereas it was said that this particular unit and this sound processor actually was closer to the Dolby or to the original soundtrack than almost any other equipment on the market. So it was very, very advanced for its time. Now, the reason why I can't demonstrate it is because of something that was going on at the time, and something which I still find fascinating today, which was this. And this was a ribbon cable that was used on a lot of MIDI and mini systems to try and cut down on that spaghetti effect, which John Cleese memorably spoke about in the Sony commercials about 10 years before this was released. Now, in reality, this particular unit, if it were powered by a normal figure-of-8 cable, or even another sort of low voltage cable, actually wouldn't have created too much more spaghetti, because all it did is effectively linked two ways, so in and out from the amplifier. But at that time, most manufacturers were doing this, were replacing mains cables and main logic cables, if you like, with ribbon. Now, I don't think for this particular unit that it actually affected the quality greatly, because it was actually just taking the logic circuitry and the power in between the main tuner amplifier or receiver and this particular unit. Fortunately, this unit actually had digital inputs and outputs, and also RCA inputs and outputs as well. So users that wanted to get the very best out of this unit from video disc, so laser vision, from DAT, so my personal favorite, and indeed analog sources such as a phono input. You'll notice it's actually got a ground connector as well on here, is they could put everything through this unit and create this virtual Dolby ProLogic surround soundstage, which for some listeners at the time sounded radically different to anything else that they'd ever heard before. And if the MIDI system was linked with rear speakers, then you could actually link your, as I say, video disc or hi-fi VHS or SVHS player into this unit as well. And for the first time, you could actually hear 4-channel Dolby ProLogic. So, of course, that started the trend of linking TV and video devices into hi-fi. And certainly at the time, Technics were very much looking at their partners in Panasonic to develop NICAM stereo television, NICAM hi-fi video recorders, and then for these two parts of the living room, if you like, to come together. So it was a very, very important step in how home hi-fi technology was moving from an audiophile and esoteric source into something which was more mainstream. And of course, later on became more commonplace in the living rooms. So, as I say, it's a brief video, but this particular unit was, as I say, a very important step forward in the way that European households were beginning to bring their audio and visual entertainment together in one place. Now, at the same time, the Dolby ProLogic chipset in here was actually being used in lots of other Matsushita and Victor company technology. So it was used in JVC televisions, for argument's sake, that were produced in Scotland for the UK market. And they integrated this this circuitry to give you a Dolby ProLogic effect, so a 4-channel effect, through 2 speakers. Now, some people will argue that it was trickery and didn't work at all. But those televisions sounded and still sound some of the best NICAM stereo televisions ever available in the UK market. And again, they like this, they were over-engineered for the time. So actually, you know, from a selling price of what, £700 or £800 for a 28-inch CRT model, the landed cost was incredibly high, so the margins were very tight on them. And JVC, unfortunately, unlike Panasonic and Sony in the day, simply weren't selling enough televisions in order to make money, and therefore, very quickly, particularly as plasma technology was becoming more affordable, those televisions sadly weren't manufactured. But one of these days, I will put together a video about JVC CRT technology and just how good it actually was. And in reality, how few people had a JVC television in their homes and really missed out on some of the best picture and sound quality performance ever seen on a television on the PAL system. So, as I say, a very impressive little piece of kit. I can't demonstrate it to you, which is a real shame. But what I will do is I'll integrate some pictures of the innards of this device into the video, so you can have a look at actually how it was put together. It was a real solid state unit. I don't believe there were actually any cable interconnects within the unit itself. It was all on a PCB, and all the chipsets were marked in here in 1999. So this was probably quite late on. Now, unfortunately, what I'm going to have to do is sell this one for people who are looking for this essential part of the MIDI system. And I reckon it's in almost perfect condition. So this has clearly been taken out when maybe other units had failed. And I came across this actually on a local site. So I think it's somebody that unfortunately hasn't got the rest of the system. But I reckon back in the day, this was probably £200 worth of equipment based in here, because I actually know that the chipset in here, landing cost, was somewhere near £50 at the time. But I think £50 for this unit is a really good price, and I'll be popping it onto Facebook Marketplace and also onto eBay later today. So if you're looking for the missing link in your SH CH900 MIDI system, or indeed can use this device when connected with the fabled ribbon connector there, then please give me a call, drop me a line, and it could be yours, and I'll send it to you first class post. So from me, and this little Technics beauty. I will be seeing you soon. The next video that I'll be producing is looking at a cassette deck and the difference between some high-end and low-end cassette decks from the early 2000s to mid-2000s, including a review of the Nakamichi BX2, one of the later iWood decks, and also a Technics double dubbing deck as well. But more on that soon, and look forward to speaking to you. Take care. Bye.